So let's start with our underexposed shot and let's look at ways to improve the detail in the shadows without burning out the highlights and the midtones. And the first thing to do, of course, with a shot like this is just to have a quick look at its histogram, and that'll give us a clue as to where the problems lie. So you can see there's a lot of detail that's been clipped and lost in the shadows, and the highlights aren't as bright as they could be by any means. So this is a very dark looking image, as we can see from the histogram here. That gives us a little clue, because our monitor might not be set correctly. It might just be turned down too dark, and you might actually be able to print out detail there. So it's always worth checking the histogram, because that won't change no matter how you've got your monitor settings. So it's well worth a look. What I'll do before I actually start with the shadow highlights command is just show you an alternative approach, and then we can compare the levels approach with shadow highlights, so you can see how powerful and more effective shadow highlights is. But let's just quickly have a look at levels first of all. What I'll do is I'll press F7 to get layers palette up, and I'll just duplicate the layer for the moment. So we've got the original untouched version behind there. And nice thing with levels is, though we're not ultimately going to use it, is that if you go to adjust lighting and choose levels, you can see the histogram again, and this time you can edit it. You can see we've got all this black here with no detail in it, and there's not so many brighter pixels, so we just take the brightest ones, which are about here, and give them a stronger value. You can see the image brightening up quite a lot, but that's still not helping the shadows, and that's the tricky bit. We could try and drag this midtone slider more towards the shadows, like so, and that is showing the detail in the shadows, but it's bleaching out the highlights here. So that's why levels is not as effective in this case. If I turn the preview off, you can see that she is kind of washed out a little bit now and beginning to possibly clip certain parts of her, like this area here. So we'll look at levels later on in more detail in another movie on the CD, but here we can see that while levels isn't as effective as shadow highlights when you're trying to get some very dramatic black shadows to show what they've got hiding in them. So I'm just going to cancel that for the moment, and now we can look at shadow highlights in all its glory.